Hey, what's up guys, it's Dark Arm Duelist, and today doing a Silent Swordsman Phantom Knight deck profile. So I'm really excited to do some for you guys because this deck is actually suggested to me by one of my patrons, Mimi. And this deck is an extremely powerful deck with just how well the Silent Swordsman card works with Phantom Knight, making it super easy to summon out this nostalgic boss monster. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Like getting your name scratched in a single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month you're a patron. And definitely give Mimi some love down in the comments down below for suggesting such an awesome deck. So let's get straight on into this one, guys. So first off, we're playing 3 copies of Silent Swordsman. This card is definitely a 3 of in the build, and an awesome card that we can easily summon now that we have all our awesome Phantom Knights to back this card up. This card has the ability it cannot be normal summoner set. It must first be special summoned from your hand by tributing one warrior type monster and cannot be special summoned by other ways. Once per turn, during this stamina phase, this card gains 500 attack points, making this card get absolutely massive extremely quickly. Also, once per turn, during either player's turn, when a spell card is activated, you can negate the activation, which is a really powerful fact that this card is a walking negate. Also, if this card is destroyed by battle, or this card in its owner's possession is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can special summon a Silent Swordsman monster from your hand or deck, ignoring its summoning conditions, except another copy of this card, which is a crazy powerful effect. So we're actually going to summon Silent Swordsman level 7 off of its effect, which is a really awesome one-of to be able to play in this build, because this card is a crazy powerful effect that as long as this card remains faceable on your side of the field, negate the effects of all spell cards on the field, which is an awesome ability just to lock down your opponent, and we don't really use that many spell cards in this build. So this card is really insane to be able to use to instantly summon out to our side of the field off the Silent Swordsman's effect. We can play 3 copies of Torn Scales. Torn Scales is one of the best normal summons in the entire build. This card is a crazy powerful effect that you can discard a card to send a Phantom Knights card from your deck to the graveyard, except another copy of Torn Scales. And if another Phantom Knight card is in your graveyard, is banished while this card's in the graveyard, you can special summon this card but banish it when it leaves the field. But you can only use each effect of this card once per turn. This card is definitely a 3 of in the build and is one of our best summons in the entire deck. We can play 3 copies of Silent Boots. Silent Boots is a definite 3 of in the build and is an awesome extender because if you control a Phantom Knight monster, you can special summon this card from your hand once per turn. This card also has the ability you can banish this card in the graveyard to add a Phantom Knight spell or trap from your deck to your hand, which is a really cool effect. We then play 2 copies of Ancient Cloak. Ancient Cloak is really cool as a 2 of in the build, but you really only need 2 copies of Ancient Cloak. This card has the ability that you can actually banish this card from the graveyard to add the Phantom Knight card from your deck to your hand, which is an extremely important effect to read because this card has to add a card that says the Phantom Knight, not just Phantom Knight. So this card cannot add cards like Fog Blade from your deck to your hand because it does not have the in the name. It has to have a the in the name. For example, your copy of Shade Brigandine actually does have the in the name, so it can add this, but you cannot add Fog Blade off your copy of Ancient Cloak, which is a little bit unfortunate. We then play a single copy of Ragged Gloves. Ragged Gloves is really cool as a 1-of in the deck because this card has a crazy powerful effect that you can actually banish this card in graveyard to be able to send a Phantom Knights card from your deck to the grave, which is a great ability to get the exact Phantom Knight card you need in the graveyard. And also, a Dark Exile monster that was summoned using this card on the field as a material gains the effect that it gains 1,000 attack points. We then play a single copy of Stained Greaves. Stained Greaves is just a really good combo piece in the deck, just as a 1-of in the build, just to help you get more monsters on your side of the field. That if the Phantom Knight monster is special summoned to your field, except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand, then you can increase the level of this card by 1. You can also banish this card from the graveyard to special summon the Phantom Knight monster from your hand, except the Phantom Knight Stained Greaves, then increase its level by 1, which is a really cool effect to be able to increase your monster's level while also swarming the board. We then play 3 copies of Tour Guide. Tour Guide is definitely a 3 of in the build because this card is one of the best normal summons in the entire deck. Because when this card is normal summon, you get to special summon a level 3 Fiend monster from your hand or deck, but its effects are negated. We then play a single copy of Skarm. Skarm is really good as a 1 of in the build. And this card has a great graveyard effect that during the end phase, if this card was sent to the graveyard this turn, you're going to add a level 3 Dark Fiend monster from your deck to your hand, meaning you can search out cards like Tour Guide from your deck to your hand. Something to note about your Burning Abyss monsters is if you control a monster that's not a Burning Abyss, you destroy them, but your copy of Tour Guide will negate that effect, which is really cool. We then play a single copy of Graph. Graph is really cool because if this card touches the graveyard, you get to special summon a Burning Abyss monster from your deck to your side of the field. We then play a single copy of Seer. Seer is also really good just as a 1-of for the Cherubini combo. And this card is really cool to be able to use because if this card is sent to the graveyard, you get to target a Burning Abyss monster in the graveyard, accept a copy of Seer, and special summon it. We then play 3 copies of Terror Top. Terror Top is definitely a 3 of in the build. This card is amazing because if you control no monsters, you can special summon this card in your hand, and when this card is normally special summoned, you get to add a Speedroid monster from your deck to your hand, which is always going to be your copy of Tekatomborg. Tekatomborg is definitely a 1 of in the build to search off your copy of your Terror Top, because this card's ability to control a wind monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom's amazing as a 3 of in the build, just to stop your opponent from touching the deck. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Rhoda. Rhoda searches so many different cards in the deck, and this card helps out so much in this build. We then play a single copy of Chaos Space. Chaos Space is extremely helpful because you can actually send your Phantom Knights to the graveyard with this card to be able to search out Silent Swordsman because it cannot be normal summoned or set, which is amazing to instantly get to your copy of Silent Swordsman using this card's ability. We then play a single copy of Foolish Burial. Foolish Burial is really good as a 1-of to get the exact card you need in the graveyard when you need it. We then play a single copy of Ghostrick Shot. Ghostrick Shot is when we get into the really spicy tech cards in the build. This card helps you make a copy of F-Zero, because all you have to do is make a copy of Alucard. Then once you make Alucard, you overlay an Angel of Mischief on top of that copy of Alucard, then detach the copy of your Alucard off Angel of Mischief to search out this card, because Angel of Mischief can search out spells and traps that are Ghostrick spells and traps. You then activate this to bring back your copy of Alucard from the graveyard back to your side of the field, make a second Angel of Mischief, and then use both of those Angel of Mischiefs to go into F-Zero and then Utopic Draco Future, giving you a walking negate for any 2 level 3s, which is really cool. We then play a single copy of Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave is really good as a 1-of in the build, basically just to stop your opponent's hand traps while you're going in for all of your plays. We're then playing 2 copies of Silent Sword Slash. Silent Sword Slash is definitely a 2-of in the build to work with our Silent Swordsman. This card is really good because it lets us target a Silent Swordsman monster you control, and that monster you control gains 1500 attack and defense, and if it does, until the end of this turn, it is unaffected by your opponent's card effects, and this activation and effect cannot be negated, meaning it's a speed spell for 1500 attack point boost, which is really cool. This card also has the ability you can banish this card from the graveyard to add a Silent Swordsman monster from your deck to your hand, which is great to be able to use because we have a bunch of cards that can send cards to graveyard. So this card helps out a lot in the build to basically just use this card to search out Silent Swordsman if it does touch the graveyard. We then also play 3 copies of Small World. Small World is really good at searching out your copy of Silent Swordsman because there's so many different bridges in this deck to be able to search out your copy of your Silent Swordsman directly from your deck to your hand, or the exact card that you need, especially since you play so many different level 3 monsters. It makes it really easy to be able to step into a copy of Silent Swordsman in this deck, or one of your other monsters in this build that you really need. This card is amazing in this build, and just helps out a lot overall in the deck. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get in to the traps. So for the traps, we're going to start with a single copy of Full Armored XZ. Full Armored XZ helps out a lot in the build for the Armored XZ package in this deck to be able to step into Dark Knight Lancer. We then play a single copy of Phantom Knight's Wing. Phantom Knight's Wing is really good just as a one-of in the build, as this card has a crazy powerful effect that lets you target a face-up monster on the field and it gains 500 attack points. Also, the first time that target would be destroyed by a battle card effect, this turn it is not destroyed. You can also banish this card from your graveyard and then target the Phantom Knight monster in your graveyard and special summon it, but banish it when it leaves the field, basically making this card a monster reborn. We then play a single copy of Shade Brigandine. Shade Brigandine is really good as a one-up because this card is basically a trap monster. You can special summon this card in defense position as a normal monster that's a warrior, dark, level 4, 0 attack, 300 defense. And this card is not treated as a trap card. If you have no traps in your graveyard, you can actually activate this card the turn it was set, which is a crazy powerful effect. We then play 2 copies of Fogblade. Fogblade at 2 is really all you need. You don't need any more than 2 copies in the build. This card has the ability to activate this card by targeting an effect monster on the field and negate that face-up monster's effect. And the face-up monster cannot attack, and also monsters cannot target that face-up monster for attacks. And when it leaves the field, destroy this card. You can also banish this card from the graveyard and then target the Phantom Knight monster in your graveyard and special summon it, but banish it when it leaves the field, which is a really powerful effect to use this card as a monster reborn and a Fiendish Chain-like card. So, that's it for the traps, guys, and the main deck. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to start off with Breaksword. Breaksword is definitely a 2-up in the build, and this card helps out so much in the deck because it has the ability that once per turn you can detach a material in this card to target one card that you control and a card your opponent controls and destroy them. And if this XZ summon card is destroyed, you can target 2 the Phantom Knight monsters with the same level in your graveyard and special summon them, but increase their levels by 1. Also, you cannot special summon for the rest of the turn except dark monsters, which is one of the few restrictions in this deck that lock us into dark. We then play a single copy of Raider's Knight. Raider's Knight is a one-of in the build because of our effect of Breaksword, increasing monsters to level 4 to be able to summon out a copy of Raider's Knight and then our copy of Arc Rebellion, because our copies of Raider's Knight will help us summon out our copy of Arc Rebellion so we can OTK our opponent. And Arc Rebellion is actually one of my favorite XZs in the entire game because of how powerful it is and how massive it gets. This card is absolutely insane and just really, really good. This card is a crazy powerful effect that you detach material from this card, and then this card gains attack equal to the total attack of all other monsters on the field. Then, if this card has a Dark XZ monster as a material, negate the effects of all other face-up monsters on the field, and after this effect resolves, you cannot declare attacks with other monsters for the rest of the turn, except for this card, which is really insane that this card gets absolutely massive and just swings in for game. We then play a single copy of XZ Armor Torpedo. This card is really good to be able to make first for your XZ Armor package, because you make this card detach 2 materials, draw a card, and then make a copy of Fortress. Then once you make your copy of Fortress on top of your copy of Torpedo, you detach your copy of Torpedo to be able to search out the Trap card, the Armor XZ Trap card. And then once you do that, you just set it to your side of the field and then wait to be able to make your copy of Full Armored Dark Knight Lancer with the Trap card's effect, which is super cool to be able to do because Dark Knight Lancer is such a powerful XZ monster to be able to make. This card is absolutely broken and really cool to be able to play in this deck because it's so easy to make rank 3s. We then play a single copy of Ghostrict Alucard. Ghostrict Alucard is really cool as a one-of in the build because just by making this card, you can make your 2 copies of Angel of Mischief because they'll search out your copy of Ghostrict Shot, and then you can bring back Alucard again and then summon the second copy of Angel of Mischief that you detach the copy of Alucard off the first one to bring out the second one, which is super cool. And then you make a copy of F-Zero, which is amazing, and then your copy of Utopic Draco Future, which is a walking negate and so easy to make in this deck. It's really insane how easy this card is to make in this build. We can play a single copy of AA Zeus because we're playing an XZ-based strategy, so we're just going to be board wiping the field with Zeus. 1 copy of Rusty Bardige. Rusty Bardige is really good in the deck just as a one-up because this card has the ability during your main phase. You can send 1 the Phantom Knight monster from your deck to the graveyard and then set 1 Phantom Knight spell or trap directly from your deck in your spell and trap card zone, which is a really cool ability just to basically get your copy of Fogblade to your side of the field. We can also play a single copy of Cherubini. Cherubini's really good for the tour guide plays because this card has the ability that basically you can actually send a level 3 monster from your deck to the graveyard once per turn, which is a crazy powerful effect. Also, this card has the ability monsters card point to cannot be destroyed by card effects, so your copies of your Burning Abyss monsters will not destroy themselves with their own abilities when this card points to them, which is amazing. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed. This deck is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played a Silent Swordsman Phantom Knight deck before, you should definitely give this deck a try because it's extremely powerful. It's super fun to be able to play, and I absolutely love playing Phantom Knights, especially when you include Silent Swordsman in them because it's such a nostalgic card. So, that's going to do it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can come part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.